A technology partner builds a procurement agent for your company. It classifies supplier requests. It reads contract terms. It drafts recommendations and routes exceptions to category managers. The demo looks clean. The workflow gets faster. People start using it. Then, one day, it routes the wrong exception, or misses a contract constraint, or recommends an approval path that creates a compliance problem. Now, the uncomfortable question arrives. Who explains what happened? The partner built it, the platform ran it. The agent made the recommendation. But your enterprise owns the workflow. Your enterprise owns the approval path. And your enterprise owns the audit trail. That is the governance problem many enterprises are not yet ready for. The next AI risk may come from an agent your company did not build. The agent may be external, the accountability is not. And that is where this next phase of enterprise AI gets more complicated. Recent Big Four announcements are an early signal. KPMG and Anthropic announced a global alliance that embeds Claude into KPMG Digital Gateway, the firm's client delivery platform, beginning with new capabilities for tax and legal clients. Deloitte had already announced Claude Access across its global network. PwC followed with its own expanded Anthropic alliance, including Claude Code and co-work rollout plans and a program to train and certify thousands of professionals. It would be too narrow to read all of this as a consulting productivity story. The bigger signal is that AI is moving into the systems through which the enterprise work already reaches clients. Tax platforms, legal workflows, due diligence processes, modernization programs, managed services, implementation patterns, industry templates, and partner-built solutions. Enterprises will not experience AI only through internal copilots and agents. They will experience AI through the ecosystem around them: consulting firms, systems integrators, ISVs, managed service providers, marketplaces, implementation accelerators, and partner-built workflows. The control problem changes once AI enters through the delivery chain, even while agent adoption is already moving faster than agent control. OutSystems has reported that 94% of enterprises say AI sprawl is increasing complexity and security risk, while only 12% have implemented a centralized platform to manage that sprawl. The same research says 38% of organizations are mixing custom and pre-built agents. Microsoft has also reported that 29% of employees use unsanctioned agents for work tasks. Those numbers point to a simple problem. Agents are multiplying faster than the operating model around them. Now, add the partner ecosystem. Some agents will be built internally. Many will not. And while some will summarize or route, others will shape recommendations that enter tax, legal, procurement, claims, credit, compliance, or operational decisions. That is where the governance problem changes. The enterprise may not build every agent it depends on, but it will still own the workflows those agents enter, the decisions those workflows support, and the evidence required when something has to be explained later. For decades, enterprise technology strategy has often been organized around a familiar question. Do we build it or do we buy it? That question is becoming too narrow for agentic AI. In the agentic enterprise, many of the most important capabilities will be assembled across organizational boundaries. A systems integrator may build the agent. An ISV may provide the workflow. A consulting firm may package the methodology. A managed service provider may operate the process. A platform vendor may supply the runtime. And the client team may tune the policy, approve the integration, and own the business result. That is not clean build versus buy. That is shared execution. And shared execution creates a harder accountability model. Take the procurement example. A partner-built agent classifies supplier requests, checks supplier records, reads contract terms, drafts recommendations, and routes exceptions. The enterprise did not build the whole thing. The enterprise partner brought templates, integration patterns, and domain logic. The platform may run parts of the workflow. The agent may use third-party tools or models behind the scenes. But once it touches supplier workflows, procurement policy, approval paths, or ERP data, it is no longer just a partner asset. It has entered the operating environment. Or take a customer care agent embedded by an ISV into a regulated service workflow. It summarizes cases, retrieves knowledge, recommends next steps, and hands off to a human when a request crosses a policy boundary. The agent may be vendor provided, but the customer experience belongs to the enterprise. And so does the regulatory explanation if the interaction is challenged. That is the practical problem hiding underneath partner-led AI adoption. The enterprise can outsource development, integration, and managed operation, but it cannot fully outsource accountability for the work those systems affect. This changes what partner readiness has to mean. For a long time, partner readiness was mostly about capability transfer. Understand the product, pass the certification, learn the sales play, know the implementation pattern, then build a demo, handle objections, and deliver the project. All of that still matters. But when partners deliver agents into client workflows, readiness cannot stop at product fluency or implementation skills. It has to include proof that the agent can enter a governed operating model. Because a partner who can build an agent is useful, but a partner who can explain what the agent is allowed to do, how it was tested, what systems it can touch, what policies constrain it, what evidence it leaves behind, and how it will be monitored after deployment is more valuable. The first partner helps a client start. The second helps a client scale without losing control. Here is what that looks like in real work. A consulting partner builds a finance operations agent. It summarizes invoice exceptions and recommends whether they should be approved, rejected, or escalated. In a demo, the agent looks impressive. It reads the invoice, checks the purchase order, compares contract terms, and drafts a clean recommendation. But in production, the client needs harder answers. Can the agent approve anything or only recommend? What happens when the vendor record is incomplete? Can it access banking details? Does it treat a policy exception differently from a data quality exception? Are all tool calls logged? Can finance see whether a human accepted, changed, or rejected the recommendation? Those are not demo questions, they are governance questions. But the burden does not sit with the partner alone. The client still owns the business process, risk appetite, approval thresholds, and regulatory explanation. Their control plane has to enforce policies, manage identity, capture traces, and provide operational evidence. The partner's job is different but essential. Deliver agents that can plug into that model without becoming black boxes. That is why partner enablement has to mature from product fluency to delivery discipline. So what standard should a partner-delivered agent have to meet before it touches real work? A polished demo, a statement of work, and a trusted partner relationship is not enough. A partner-built agent should move into production only when it has passed through a lifecycle the enterprise can understand, operate, and defend. In practical terms, that lifecycle has 7 control points: intake, certification, catalog, gateway, identity, observability, and optimization or retirement. Let's walk through them quickly. First, intake. The key question is not which model the agent uses, but what work is this agent allowed to influence or change. A procurement agent that summarizes supplier requests is one thing. A procurement agent that recommends contract exceptions, updates supplier records, or triggers approval workflows is something else entirely. Before build work begins, the client and partner should define the use case, integration plan, data access, decision boundaries, and policy requirements. The practical test is simple. If the agent performs exactly as designed, what business outcome can it change? Second, certification. A partner agent should be evaluated against realistic scenarios, not just happy path demos. For a finance operations agent, that means testing incomplete vendor records, duplicate invoices, contract mismatches, banking detail changes, policy exceptions, and escalation paths. The test should examine not only the final answer, but the trajectory. Did the agent call the right tool, in the right order, with the right parameters, and did it route the work correctly? The goal is not perfection, but evidence that the agent fails in an understandable, recoverable ways before real users depend on it. Third, catalog. A partner-built agent buried inside a project folder, SOW appendix, or team workspace becomes shadow AI with credentials. A governed catalog changes that. It records what the agent does, who owns it, what systems it touches, which policies apply, what version is live, what evidence supported certification, and whether it is approved for production. One customer care agent may be manageable, but hundreds of agents across HR, procurement, finance, field service claims, and sales operations are not. If risk, operations, or audit cannot find the agent and understand whether it is approved for production, it is not governed. Fourth, gateway. Trusting the partner is not the same as controlling the runtime. A partner may deliver a well-designed agent, but the enterprise still needs policy enforcement at the point of action. That may mean PII filtering, secrets detection, role-based access controls, prompt injection defenses, payload limits, approved network destinations, and escalation rules for sensitive cases. For an MCP tool connected to a database, it may mean rate limits, size limits, SQL injection detection, and restrictions on which actions the tool can perform. So, a policy written in a governance document is not enough. The question is whether policies are enforced while the agent acts. Fifth, identity. In a partner ecosystem, the agent did it is not an acceptable explanation. The enterprise needs to know which agent acted, what credentials it used, what permissions it had, whether it acted autonomously or under explicit human approval, and which owner is accountable for the outcome. This becomes critical when an agent touches systems of record. If a managed service agent closes an infrastructure ticket, updates a configuration, or triggers a remediation step, the organization needs more than a success message. It needs traceable authorization. Sixth, observability. A partner-delivered agent should become observable once it enters production. The enterprise needs fleet-level visibility into usage, failure rates, latency, tool calls, knowledge sources, models used, token consumption, user feedback, and conversation history. Observability is not just about troubleshooting. It is how business and technology teams discover whether the agent is actually improving work. A customer care agent may look successful because usage is high, but traces may show escalation failures, weak retrieval, repeated policy trigger events, or long latency in a critical handoff. Without observability, the client is managing outcomes by anecdote. Seventh, optimization or retirement. Agents degrade. Policies and systems change. Knowledge bases drift. Tools break, and users learn how to work around the system. A partner-built agent therefore needs a review cadence, feedback loop, performance baseline, escalation path, and retirement trigger. If the failure rate rises, if policy violations increase, if tool call accuracy drops, or if the business process changes, someone has to decide whether to tune, constrain, redeploy, or remove it. Because production is not the end of partner delivery. It is where operational responsibility begins. So before a partner-built agent enters production, the enterprise should ask a different set of questions. What can it change? How was it tested? Where is it cataloged? What policies constrain it? Whose authority does it use? What trace survives? And who tunes it, constrains it, or retires it when conditions change? If the answer to those questions is unclear, the enterprise is not adopting an agent, but accepting an unmanaged dependency. For partners, this changes the bar. The next phase of partner readiness is not just knowing how to position, build, or deploy agents. It is knowing how to deliver agents as governed enterprise assets. And for clients, this changes the buying motion. The question is not only, can this partner build the agent, but can this agent be governed once it enters our work? The partner channel used to be treated mostly as a route to market. That view is now too narrow. In the agentic enterprise, partners will not only resell, implement, customize, or support technology, they will help assemble the intelligence that enters enterprise workflows. They will bring agents, tools, templates, integrations, methodologies, and managed services into environments where work is routed, summarized, escalated, approved, challenged, and recorded. That makes the partner ecosystem part of the control surface. Trust, partner relationships, and certifications still matter. But none of those things can substitute for operational control. They do not show which agent acted, what credential it used, what policy applied, what tool was called, what source was retrieved, what exception was escalated, or what changed between recommendation and action. Because speed matters only if it produces systems the enterprise can still stand behind. So a partner-built agent may be useful, accurate, save time, and be better than the process it replaced. But if the enterprise cannot see how it works, constrain what it can do, explain what happened, or remove it when the risk changes, then it has moved uncertainty to a new layer of the stack. So the question is not whether partners will help enterprises build the agents they need, but whether enterprises can govern and control those agents once they enter real work. I wrote the full article on this, including the partner-governed agent lifecycle and the practical controls enterprises should be thinking about. Link is in the description. If you're working on agent governance, partner ecosystem, or enterprise AI operating models, this is the part of the conversation I think deserves much more attention.
The data flows, a constant stream, shaping futures, chasing every dream. complex patterns in sights unseen. A new era, sharp and keen. The world is changing, can you feel the pulse? A deeper vision beyond every impulse. Enterprise, geopolitics, AI.